is just 1 minute on this. Think of developing countries, and Bill mentioned the debt crisis we've had in many emerging markets and developing countries. They've been piled. Huge debt, international debt, has been piled onto them because essentially they've been encouraged by the Washington institutions to borrow from abroad in foreign currency. And the idea is, oh, they don't have enough savings, they don't have enough money for growing, the big international banks will lend them the money. And this was done. Now, the truth of the matter is, I'm professor of international banking, the rules of international banking are such that all the dollars they've borrowed and the pound sterling they've borrowed and the euros they've borrowed never entered their own country at all. It never got there. So if they borrowed abroad, say pound sterling from London, 500 million for South Africa, and then the South African finance minister says, well, actually, we'd like to spend some of that at home in South Africa. And they tell Barclays, oh, can you sort of change that? Oh, no problem, we'll exchange that for South African rand for you. Where does Barclays get the South African rand from? It calls their correspondent bank in South Africa and says, we would like to do a deal, sell 500 million pounds sterling, buy South African rand, what's a good rate? They shop around, they agree. Now, where does the South African bank get the money from? It creates it out of nothing. So, actually, the lender banks borrowed the money from the developing countries, from their banks locally. It was all a big con. That's how they got indebted. Their assets and their resources were the collateral so that the foreign lenders, which is creating, getting the local banks to create the money, they got control over these developing countries. And were the community banks doing this? No. In fact, these developing countries have been told how to set up their banking system, decentralized with local stakeholder community banks. This problem would have never happened.
All right.
It's the big international banks that did this, and that's why we do need to distinguish between the big bad guys and the good local guys. It is, that complicated that we have to distinguish between them. Thank you.
Okay.